Welcome to Twisted Metal.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of Twisted Metal Season 2. I'm David Chen here with Patrick Klepek. We are going to talk about the first few episodes. We'll share our overall thoughts, maybe dive into a couple of plot details. But as a reminder, Twisted Metal Season 1 took place in a post-apocalyptic world where outlaws are banished to live outside of cities, and transporters known as milkmen ferry goods between these cities. John Doe, our main milkman, played by Anthony Mackey, is asked by Raven, Chief Operations Officer of New San Francisco, to get a package from New Chicago and drive it to New San Francisco in exchange for citizenship. Along the way, he meets Quiet, played by Stephanie Beatrice, whose brother was tragically killed by a group of vigilantes led by a guy named Stone. Quiet and Anthony Mackey, aka John Doe, form a romantic relationship and have a bunch of adventures in Season 1 as they try to get the package to New San Francisco. Meanwhile, an insane sociopathic guy in a clown mask named Sweet Tooth is out there mixing up things as well. I do want to point out, by the way, that at the very end of Season 1, spoilers for Season 1, it's revealed that the package was a pint of Rocky Road ice cream. It was actually just not important at all. It was a MacGuffin because the real test was to see if John Doe could actually drive in an upcoming competition that Raven was really interested in. When Season 1 came to an end, John and Quiet had vanquished Stone and successfully delivered the package. John tries to get Quiet into the city, but Raven refuses to let her in. Quiet ends up stealing supplies from milkmen and giving the supplies to homeless people outside of the cities when she's stopped by a woman in a doll mask who claims to be John's sister. Meanwhile, Raven reveals to John she needs him to drive in a massive car tournament to win the ultimate prize from a guy named Calypso. The winner gets what their heart most desires. So, as Season 2 kicks off, John Doe is training to be in the tournament. Sweet Tooth is marauding across the country with Stu. Quiet has joined John Doe's sister Dollface as part of her gang, and all parties are preparing to compete in Calypso's tournament. Season 2 of Twisted Metal will have 12 episodes. Patrick Klepek has seen 3 of them. I've seen 3, and I've watched forward as well, just to get a sense of what the rest of the season is like. I will not spoil anything, other than to point out that Season 1 was building up to this tournament. Season 2, first few episodes built up to this tournament. When we do see some of the tournament in Season 2, I don't think that's a big spoiler to reveal. All that said, I was going to ask Patrick Klepek to open this episode, but I think I'm going to do it.
All right,
I think I'm going to do it.
Let's do it.
When we discussed Season 1 of Twisted Metal, Patrick Klepek was a bigger fan than I. I thought this is terrible. This is not good television. Why are we even doing this? Wow, we're really hurting for shows. And I would say one of the biggest issues with Season 1 of Twisted Metal is, Patrick, you and I were both Twisted Metal fans of the, fans of the video game. By the way, mind-blowing concept that in the universe of the show Twisted Metal, there exists the game Twisted Metal. That I don't know how that makes any sense at all, because in the first episode, you see Anthony Mackey playing Twisted Metal, like training on a PlayStation copy of Twisted Metal.
Can't think about it too much.
Can't think about it too much. I thought this is a very silly show. This is very low budget. And also it doesn't actually show what we really wanted to see, which is a tournament in which these wildly designed car drivers compete with each other and shoot weapons and drop bombs on each other. That's kind of, we got some version of that, but we didn't really get that. Now that I'm in Season 2 of the show, I have to say, I may actually like this show.
Wow. Okay.
I may actually enjoy watching it. And here's why. A couple reasons why I've been enjoying Season 2 of Twisted Metal so far. Number one, there really isn't any show like this. It is so rough around the edges that it becomes almost charming in how rough around the edges it is. There's a scene in one of the first 3 episodes of the show where, like, you see how the Dollface's crew was formed, right? And it's these women that are they kind of have like male companions, and they're in the post-apocalypse. And when the men try to deal with, like, figure out what their trade deals are going to be, the women are all consigned to the women's bathroom. And one of the women says, "Yeah, like, this is where the real stuff takes place, not out there where the men are just doing their annual dick measuring contest. And then it cuts to the men's talking, and then one of the men takes out a tape measure and he's like, well, guys, time to measure our dicks. And I'm just like, that is such a stupid joke, and yet it's a stupid, obvious joke, and it's like, it kind of works because it's so it kind of comes so dumb. It comes out on the other side of that, and it's like, that's kind of charming that they went all the way. They're like, oh, they're literally measuring their dicks. That's the kind of humor, by the way, that is throughout the whole show, right? That's not an outlier. That's not an outlier. So Anthony Mackie is having fun, and honestly, there's not that many shows or things that he acts in where he can have fun. I just watched him in Captain America: Brave New World, terrible movie, and he does not look like he's enjoying himself. And he looks like he is enjoying himself while making Twisted Metal, and it's great. It's great that you get to see like another side of this actor. It's like, oh, he can be fun and goofy as well. We get to meet a lot of the Twisted Metal characters from the game in this season, and they look like the characters from the game. Like, they're not just like, oh, this is a ultra realistic version of it. In particular, in the first 3 episodes, we meet Axel. And I think we actually talked about him on the first season, because Axel, for those who don't know, is a character in the game. He's basically just a dude with 2 big wheels next to him. And in the game, I think you and I talked about it on the podcast. We're like, that character makes absolutely no goddamn sense, because why would you have a character that is exposed to the elements like that? But I have to say, when Axel shows up in the first few episodes of this season, it actually looks kind of cool. I think Axel looks pretty badass in this show. And there's other characters we meet in the show. I don't know who your main was when you played Twisted Metal. My main was Grim. And we get to see Grim, and it's kind of a cool version of Grim in the show, where he like absorbs the souls of the people that he attacks. So between the show being so rough around the edges that it kind of has a charming, attitude towards it, you're watching these actors, they're just you can tell they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun. This is probably one of the funnest sets they've ever been on, is my guess. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then characters in the show that actually are true to the game, like a tournament in the show that is somewhat resembles the game. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm actually having a good time with the show in a way that I never did in season 1. It's also possible that my life is in a little bit of a better place today than it was when season 1 of the show aired. But I actually might watch this show all the way to the end, Patrick Klepek.
Oh, man, it's so
of my own volition.
Oh my god! I cannot believe we're on the other side, where I almost as a bit was like, we should just watch this all the way to the end, and we'll just keep talking about it. And you didn't want to, and I made you do it. And now we're 3 episodes into season 2, and I'm like, I don't know that we need to keep watching this show.
Yeah,
and now you're gonna watch the show, which means then I'm going to watch the show so that we can of course we have to complete the loop. Like, we have to finish it up and tell people how it ends. If you're gonna do it, I'll do it. But I guess what I'll say, this show operates on a very specific vibe.
Yes. And one thing, by the way, unlike any vibe of any other show I'm watching, and I
can't even really put my finger on what that vibe is. Like, it almost as though I feel like they're having a big party while they're shooting this show. It feels like they threw a party and occasionally they shot a show, and then we get that show and we get to watch those episodes. And I don't mean that in a way to dismiss the care that has gone into I'm just saying, it's trying to pin down the very, and I think part of it is that it's explicitly a comedy, which is just, comedy as a form, we have, The Naked Gun is coming out in theaters soon. Comedy as a form that isn't in stand-up, but explicitly we are making something to make you laugh. Comedy is really embedded in a lot of other genres, but is not necessarily the first foot forward. I think part of what I found very charming about Twisted Metal was that it didn't take the source material too seriously, but it did care about the source material. It wasn't running away from it. It was just sort of doing its own spin on it. And there's a difference, right? You can watch adaptations. They're like, well, this is the only way that I could get my idea through, was to take this license. I'll take some of the iconography and then I'm going to tell my story with it, but I don't really care about like the history or where it's come from. And Twisted Metal has a very loose but fun. I think we compared it to Mortal Kombat, right? Like I both didn't care and deeply cared about the world, characters, and lore of Twisted Metal in the same way that I both didn't care and deeply cared about the world, characters, and rules of Mortal Kombat. And part of what made those original Mortal Kombat movies, well, the first movie work, was that I think it understood the source material, took it as seriously as it needed to. And I do think Twisted Metal operates on a similar sort of campy level in which it's not being disrespectful to the material, but then it's also it's doing its own thing. And by being so explicitly comedy forward, it's just so different than a lot of other things I'm watching. And I had a high tolerance for it in the first season because it was just like such a goofy little, I'm like,
right.
What are we doing here? Sweet Tooth is voiced by Will Arnett, but like the actor is like somebody else, and just so many decisions they make. I'm not even disagreeing with the decision. I'm just pointing out that the decision was made and kind of want to talk about it. And I sort of couldn't look away. It was like a car wreck in its own charming sort of way. And
yes.
I think part of looking at season 2, like we got access to all the episodes, and I'm scrolling through. I'm like, 13 episodes? Like we're doing this?
It's 12 episodes.
12. Like that's a lot. Like there's a lot of story that they want to tell here. 3 episodes in, I can't really tell like what's going to define 12 episodes of Twisted Metal season 2. And in some ways, are we running out the clock on these 12? Like 3 episodes in, we're not to the tournament yet. But what I'll say is, I think the difference is you're like, it's less that I'm lower on the show as much as you've gotten closer to how I felt about the show the first time around.
Maybe. I think I've overshot it. I think I'm like beyond.
I think you've overshot it a little bit.
Where you were first season. Yeah.
The thing I will say, the thing that is one of the most charming elements about the show, and this is one of the bits that you liked about season 1, even if most of season 1 didn't work for you, but I think it also exists in season 2. I'll be curious if you can give any insight on how this feels in the tournament. It feels like a show where people like went to a place and did things. They're in cars, they're riding on things. Like, yes, there are lots of visual effects. Yes, there is CG, but like there are straight up just racing sequences and chasing sequences. And it's a very physical show. Like Axel could have easily been, I don't know how much of that is practical and effects working together. I don't care. What I do care about is that I buy 100% that is a weird ass man with wheels attached to his arms, and he is racing around, and it is audacious that they decided to act, because in the old days, and this does speak to the fact that Hollywood, as they are concerned about our comic book movies, no longer a guarantee, as comic book movies are running out of steam, especially in a lot of foreign markets, right? Like you look at Superman, Fantastic Four, like how they struggle in China, Russia, South Korea, and that contributes to a lot to like successful movie but can't make it to $1 billion anymore. Are video games the solution to that? Are those these more universal stories that can be told that can achieve worldwide audiences in either television or film formats? And in the old days, the adaptations, go look at the old Super Mario Brothers movie, right? I think the new Super Mario Brothers film, super safe, pretty boring. It's fine enough. But it like respects the source material and what its creators intended. The original Super Mario Brothers movie, as like charming as it is for the weirdness, it doesn't it really does not have a ton of respect for like the source material because it goes in such strange directions. And I think that if they had done Twisted Metal in that era, they would have changed Axel because like, well, nobody's going to buy that. Like we've got to do something different.
Right.
And in 2025, it's like, no, people grew up on this stuff. Like we can just make Axel the way people remember him, and that will carry over to people who don't have any nostalgia or relevance for Twisted Metal because it was cool when they did it in the game. So let's just trust that it'll be cool when we build it in real life. And it is cool. And I respect the show for having that approach to its source material throughout.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I've mostly praised the show in what I've said so far today. I think if I had to point to some issues with the show, one of the things you said is indicative, which is there is just a lot of plot in the show, right? Season 2 is 12 episodes. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on. And I kind of had a realization. I was like, why is there so much plot? I kind of had a realization, which is I love the Twisted Metal games. I've spent, I'm going to say, more than 50 hours playing Twisted Metal video games. Okay,
sure.
So just
same.
rough
Twisted
estimate.
Metal 2 especially. Twisted Metal 1. I played a lot of 1, mostly 2, and then got into it again with Black.
Black was defining. I remember beating Twisted Metal Black with like all the characters just so I could see all their endings. Like just was obsessed with that game because it depicted Sweet Tooth as a serial killer. And it was just like so transgressive. I was like, this is deeply upsetting shit. I can't believe they actually did this. Like, I remember at the time, I was like, it was decades ago, and I was fascinated. Like, I can't believe they did this. So I was like, I gotta see all the endings for all the characters. And so I remember beating the game with like all the different characters. Super fun games. But I had a realization, Patrick Klepek, thinking through why they structured the season the way they did, which is why is there so much plot? And it's because fundamentally, the Twisted Metal series is you're in a car that has weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You're fighting another car or cars that have weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's 95% of the game. And you know what? If you are not playing as the car, that can get boring. Like, it's boring to even watch someone play the game. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not like the most fun game to watch someone play. Sometimes it's cool visually, but like most of the time it's not super fun to watch someone play, right? So then you have this scenario where, okay, this either needs to be some of the best car play ever, some of the best car vehicular combat ever, or it's going to be boring as shit. And what this show does, the show I think smartly realizes that, and they're like, okay, like, we cannot sustain 12 episodes of a show or even 10 episodes of a show on just cars fighting each other. Like, it's not going to be injured because they don't have the budget for it. They can't make every single one of those. I mean, Mad Max Fury Road made 2 hours of that look really good, and people almost died, and it cost like $200 million, right? Like, this show does not have the budget for that.
Right.
It's not even the vibe of what they're trying to do. And so instead, they have a lot of just plot stuff instead of like, hey, what if so-and-so loved so-and-so? What if so-and-so cared about so-and-so? And now they need to like they're taken away because of this and taken away because of that. And so they're using the sandbox of all these characters and outlandish backstories to kind of generate some drama. And it works okay. It works fine. And then they're very judicious about how they use the cars and the car battles. And I think largely the car stuff looks good. There's not very much of it. But when they do it, it does look like they actually use physical cars and used real locations. In season 1, I feel like there was a lot more, here's a car and a post-apocalyptic CG background. They did a lot of practical stuff as well, but like in season 2, I feel like there's very little CG stuff, or when there is CG stuff, it's far more convincing in my opinion. So anyway, that was my realization about like, when you get down to a Twisted Metal, not a fun game to watch. I don't think, and therefore, why would a show version of it be fun, right?
But,
so you have to do something else.
Yes, I think you're right, and I think speaking to, they seem to understand better in season 2 the reach of their own ambitions and like scaled back appropriately. Like there's a race sequence between John Doe and Quiet, Anthony Mackey and Stephanie Beatrice about going to the tournament, and it's not it's not very flashy. Like there's not a lot to it. It really feels like they're in a field and a forest with some cameras,
right?
And shot them like occasionally going into some puddles. And so it's not the most like exciting scene in the world, but like you buy that they're in it driving the cars, like, and it works because there's interesting drama and tension between the characters, which is the drama and tension between the characters is just enough to make up for the lack of spectacle in the chase sequence itself. Like it's a finely tuned the show at its best moment, which is like there's just enough like will they, won't they, fun banter between these two actors, and then the physical like cars in a location is interesting enough that stuff meets and mixes in a really good way. And the show doesn't have enough of that, but it has enough of it that I do think moments like that are kind of the propulsion forward. Plus, this season has just way more than what season 1 did, which is it felt like they either didn't have the budget or didn't want to waste too many like, oh shit, this character from the games is in it. There weren't a ton of those in season 1. Obviously, Sweet Tooth is there, but they were pretty limited on how many actual characters that you would know and love from the lineup of characters from Twisted Metal 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It seems much more deliberately that you're going to get a lot more of that in season 2, which is frankly like a huge interest of mine to then watch more of it, because I just want to see how far they push.
Yeah.
How many characters they're going to put in, how much is somebody actually going to be in a hearse, like Mr. Grimm on the motorcycle, like what, like I don't know. I'm curious to see how all that stuff sort of unfolds.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I guess I'm not allowed to talk about what happens in future episodes. I can share my reactions to future episodes because we're allowed to theoretically talk about the whole season of the show.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that I just think there's a lot of plot. Is kind of how I feel about the rest of the season. It's because I think you expect, well, it's going to be, eight episodes just on the tournament. It's like, it doesn't really play out like that because, like I said, that's not going to be super interesting to watch. So there's just like a lot more machinations and a lot more people trying to pull stuff than I think you might expect. You might expect, the whole season 2, it's just going to be all tournaments. It's like, no, that's not interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how successful is the stuff that they put in instead of tournaments? TBD. You were trying to describe the vibe of the show. Honestly, I talked about this on the Filmcast this week when we were discussing Happy Gilmore 2, but both Twisted Metal Season 2 and Happy Gilmore 2 both feel to me like what happens when like a bunch of your friends put on a show at the community theater, right? Like it's like, okay, it's fun. Like it's good. You can tell like it's good vibes. Everyone's having, it's like a labor of love. It's like a labor of love. Like we're doing this because like we love it. Is it good? Hard to say. I would be hard pressed to describe it as good. Does it have enjoyable vibes? Yes. Because for me this time it's like, I kind of understand what the show is. It's so rough. Its humor is so juvenile. And honestly, it's been a couple years since we reviewed season 1, and in that time, nothing else has come out that is like this show. Like, there's just nothing else that's like it in terms of how rough it is, in my opinion. Maybe like I'm trying to think of like, what would be similar. Like, I don't know, like
shows don't like to be silly. Like,
right.
Like there's being funny, but there's also being like Twisted Metal is a fundamentally silly show.
Yeah. I was thinking like Detroiters maybe, but like, and that's from a long time ago too. And like, but Tim Robbins's like present work doesn't really capture what it is.
It's a very distinct. Yeah. Please write in if you have like a better, analog like that or something we can point to. But I think the distinct silliness of the show is one of its hallmark qualities, which also I think could be an extreme deterrence where if like that does not land for you,
right,
like pull the ripcord, like nothing is going to change. It kind of keeps it cranked at that mode, but it's also similar to a comedy. Like it just kind of keeps firing, right? Like there's a lot of jokes and a lot of setups and not everything pays off, but the show also doesn't seem concerned with, okay, well that one didn't, you know what I mean? Like it just rolls on to the next one in a way that I think is interesting. And I think one thing that's true in season 2 of what I've seen, and I think also something that you pointed out in season 1 was that Hollywood just doesn't know really what to do with Anthony Mackie. Like this is clearly an actor with a lot of comedic strengths, like a lot of range. And I think he has been best used like in the last couple of years in this weird Twisted Metal show. And then also his like brief appearance in the studio where he was also spectacular.
Oh yeah.
And I was looking through his IMDb page, like as I was setting up this point, like, is there anything I'm like missing here that like has like Hollywood found something interesting for him to do? And it's like, no, like they handed off, they gave him a shit sandwich in the MCU. None of that is his fault. And then it's just not much else. And so, I mean, I'm sure he's getting paid, while doing the Marvel stuff, but I feel like if you want to get, even if Twist Metal doesn't work for you, I do think it's an interesting window into a different version of this actor that you just kind of don't see anywhere else. And I'd love to see him find a way to have this similar dynamic or show this similar skill set on a bigger stage.
I gotta say, by the way, my favorite Anthony Mackie performance, probably The Hurt Locker, which was from a very long time ago. I thought
before people
great.
knew who Anthony Mackie was. You know what I mean? I guess I'm thinking like now that people know who Anthony Mackie is, The Hurt Locker is almost one of those like you revisit and go, oh right, Anthony Mackie was in this.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, Patrick Klepek, you still haven't answered my question, which is, do you remember which character you mained with on in Twisted Metal?
I think Mr. Grimm was like I should look at I was looking at Twisted Metal 1. I said 2.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal 2 characters.
For me, it was Mr. Grimm. I always like he could move faster. He had like more maneuverability.
Frankly, Axel. Axel was one of my favorite ones. Thumper was always fun. Like I really liked like the pink like really cool looking character. Shadow was also one that I really liked playing. Mr. Slam, what a goofy character. He's just a construction vehicle. I love that in Twisted Metal 2 there's Outlaw who's this cop, and in Twisted Metal 2 it's Outlaw 2. Is driven by the sister of the character from the original. So yeah, I think Axel actually is it for me.
Well, anyway, I think that is if I recall correctly, like you did also praise how this season is bringing a lot of those characters are coming in. It's not just like, oh, here's a random side character that we're going to refer to. It's like, oh wow, these are the characters. They are as wild and weird as they were in the video game, and we're putting them front and center in this season, and that's just pretty exciting.
Well, honestly weirder, because like Mortal Kombat, Twisted Metal, the only real sense you got of who they were was the intro cinematics and the ending cinematics, right? Whereas here you're actually getting kind of character moments with a Mr. Grimm, and I assume based on the casting of Calypso, which is charmed casting, I have to say.
Right. Anthony Carrigan,
Yes. That I assume we're going to get a lot more of Calypso throughout the show.
Yeah. All right, Patrick Klepek, any other thoughts on Twisted Metal Season 2? Against my better judgment, I've been having fun with this show. I actually think that it reminds me of when I watched like the original Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat, where it's like, oh, like this video game that I've only played on PlayStation, it has now like come to life. And there's something very exciting about that. Where I did not feel that way with the first season, right? I was like, oh, this is like a buddy road movie based in the Twisted Metal universe. This is like, oh, this is Twisted Metal, the game, come to life in season 2 of the show. And yes, the details of the tournament are really different, and the details of Calypso are really different, but it's like, these are takes on these characters. Like the Axel being the clearest one. It's like, oh, there's a new explanation for the backstory, but like that looks like a real life version of what that character would be. And it's just, it's cool. The inner kid was kind of like really charmed by it. So yeah. Any other thoughts, Patrick Klepek?
Well, I thought this was going to be the end of the road for me in Twisted Metal, but apparently I'm going to the tournament. So I will see you on the other side, David.
Yeah, perhaps. Anyway, Twisted Metal Season 2, first few episodes are out on Peacock as you're listening to this. And I probably am going to keep watching. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on this podcast. Again, like we got Alien Earth coming up, Peacemaker coming up soon.
Maybe we can chip away at it. Like we can do, maybe it's something we can get to eventually.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Here's one of the great things about the show, Patrick Klepek. 30-minute episodes. I mean, that
Yes.
is
Yes.
merciful.
Yes.
That's awesome. This is not a show that's like, here's a 59-minute long episode where we're exploring Calypso's inner turmoil. Like,
no.
This second season just feels like it understands more what the show is, and it's really leaning into it, and also just having a good time bringing these iconic characters to life. So I'm enjoying it. Check it out. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.